Warning: the following manga contains graphic violence and scenes of nudity. The nudity has been censored, the violence has not. Viewer discretion is advised. Konnichiwa minasan, I'm Mateo and this is manga you may have missed. I mentioned earlier in the Mushishi video that manga are not the express domain of children and teens. There are some manga that are aimed at older generations, whose subject material and contents reflect that. Case in point, today's manga is Berserk. Berserk is a fantasy manga written by Kentaro Miura. It began publishing in 1990 under the Hakusensha imprint Jets Comics. In 1992, it was serialized in Young Animal. To date, 330 chapters have been published in 36 volumes. A 25-episode anime adaptation was released from October 1997 to March 1998, which adapted the first major story arc. A series of film adaptations started production earlier this year with the intent of adapting the entire series. Berserk is published in North America by Dark Horse Comics, and the anime series was licensed by Anime Works. The first chapter begins with something I have to censor. A man with a mechanical hand and a woman are doing their taxes. My mistake, a man and a monster. The woman transforms into a grotesque creature mid-act. The full, disturbing image is our title page. The title is The Black Swordsman. The monster declares its triumph as it seizes the man. Its intent is quite obviously to make a meal of him. Strangely enough, the man is okay with this, shoving his middle hand into the monster's mouth. He declares that the tables have been turned, looking quite demonic himself. We transition to a short time later, still at night. The man, now clothed, looks back. He then walks away from the smoking ruin that he left of the monster's body. Our hero, the titular Black Swordsman, proceeds to a castle. Outside, he passes a visual depiction of the haves and have-nots of society. This is extremely evident as he passes a caged wagon filled with young girls. This is sufficient enough to turn his head, but not enough for him to comment. Meanwhile, at a tavern, a pair of legs is dodging a throwing knife. The legs belong to a male elf. His name is Puck, and he will be our comic relief later on. For now, though, he serves as the bar's main form of entertainment. The chatter in the back of the bar informs us there's nothing the pubgoers can do to help him. The men using him for target practice are from the castle, and the villagers can't stand against them. It's at this point that our protagonist enters the bar. He goes over to the innkeeper and places a coin on the bar, saying he's going to start a fight. He pulls a small crossbow and some quarrels from a pouch on his belt. Puck, meanwhile, is being loud and irritating. I should have warned you, he spends most of this manga being loud and annoying. Fortunately, he disappears during the first major story arc, so he shouldn't be a repelling point for someone trying to get into the story. The men tell him not to struggle, a directive he decides to ignore. The man with the knife is suddenly pinned to the wall by a crossbow quarrel through his head. This is, of course, much to everyone's surprise. The man's companions demand to know who did it. Their answer is several more quarrels to the face from a repeating crossbow. Eventually, only one man is left standing. The swordsman calmly reloads the crossbow and gives the lone man a look. Puck and the patrons in the bar have been stunned into silence. The lone man starts to say something, but is interrupted by a quarrel that pierces through his nose. The swordsman, still indifferent, walks over to the man and grabs him by the protruding shaft of the quarrel. He asks if the man works for the castle. When the man doesn't answer immediately, he slams his head down on a table. The man admits his employment. The swordsman tells the wounded man to take his message to the castle for him. The message is that the Black Swordsman has come. Puck cries out a warning to the swordsman as someone approaches from behind. The man pulls out a giant greatsword. He cleaves the assaulting man in two. The man's torso goes spinning across the room, sending the patrons running. Everyone not evading the corpse stares in shock, including Puck, who thinks that the blade is too big to be called a sword, and is more like a sharpened slab of iron than anything else. The swordsman turns to leave, but Puck yells after him to wait. He follows the swordsman out of the tavern, chastising him for not untying him, and asking how much the sword weighs. Confused at the man's silence, Puck introduces himself and explains that he was kidnapped from a circus troupe. Still blathering, Puck mentions that the village has struck a deal with the men who elf-napped him so that raids on the village would stop. He says the man should leave if he doesn't want to be torn to pieces. He also says the robbers are also the village's soldiers. At this point, the man tries to slap him away. Puck angrily demands an explanation. The man tells Puck not to touch him on pain of mashing. Puck suddenly realizes that the swordsman is kind of a jerk. His angry response is interrupted by the approach of a platoon of soldiers. The man turns to leave, but the soldiers surround him. The soldiers bring the man to a castle, specifically to the castle's dungeon. The man is suspended from the ceiling and whipped to the point of bleeding. And insert pinup page. The man's torturer is confused at the man's lack of any visible response to the whipping. He even resorts to asking the man nicely. However, as we've seen before, the man is kind of a jerk. He spits in the torturer's face. The torturer is about to resume the whipping when a voice tells him to stop. The voice belongs to an old man, whom the torturer informs us is the village's mayor. The mayor asks if the large pile of armaments all belong to the swordsman. They do. The mayor asks if the man is a mercenary. When the man remains silent, the mayor tells him that his killing of the men might have doomed the town. The man opens his eye to ask if the soldiers accompanying the mayor are worthless. The mayor replies that the men's leader is terrifying. He is not human, but rather a creature of hell that no human is capable of killing. The swordsman says he understands why the mayor made the shady deal. The mayor says he couldn't understand, I'm assuming, but the man says he can. The man says that he knows the men's leader is a monster that eats humans. He also knows that the village sends them food, the wagon filled with women and children he passed earlier. The mayor protests that he has a duty to the town, to which the man replies that he's confusing the town with himself. The mayor is visibly injured by the man's words. He tells the torturer to hurt the man as much as he wants. They're going to hand him over to the castle later. The mayor says he must go to Coca Castle and beg the monster's forgiveness. Meanwhile, at the castle, the man from earlier with the newly pierced nose has made his report. He describes our protagonist to a man eating alone with a suit of armor. The man wonders if it's him. No, it's not. A guard comes and tells the man that the mayor is requesting an audience. The mayor is here to ask for the man's forgiveness for the incident. He says it is unrelated to the people of the town and that he's unaware of the exact circumstances. He offers to double the money and tribute sent to the man. The man casually remarks that the mayor looks haggard. He speculates that it's because this time the mayor's own neck is on the line. He flicks what's on his fork at the mayor. It is a marinade human ear. The man, or the monster, says he doesn't care about hostages or money. What he wants to see, in his words, is humans running in the midst of a great flame. They hear the sound of bones being crushed under hooves. He doesn't need a reason. The guards seize the mayor and drag him out of the hall. The monster broods on the black swordsman. Incidentally, the monster doesn't have a name. Wikipedia refers to him as the Baron. Speak of the devil, and we join the swordsman in the dungeon. The torturer has long since left, and the man has been thrown in a cell. Despite his stoic facade, the man cannot move his body. He looks up and spots something. Upon closer inspection, it appears to be a malformed, demonic, unborn fetus. Nah, I'm just kidding you. That's exactly what it is. The man recognizes the demon fetus. It has been stalking him for quite some time. It starts to inch his way towards him. Panicking, the man yells at it to stay away from him. However, there's no indication that the demon fetus has ears, so the man's cries are in vain. The assault is interrupted when a set of keys with legs falls into a puddle and starts drowning. It is, of course, Puck, who has retrieved the keys from the man's cell. He asks why the man suddenly started yelling, indicating that he can't see the demon fetus. The man recognizes the elf, who notes that the puddle he fell into is somewhat yellow. The man quickly looks back to the demon fetus, only to find that it has disappeared. Puck drags the keys over to the man, noting that he looks like one big injury. The man asks him why he came. The elf says to return a good deed is his firm duty. Puck attempts to heal the man with the laying on of hands, but the man violently protests. The man has an intense aversion to being touched. This will eventually be explained. Puck tells the man to shut up and accept his help. Puck spreads his wings and a healing dust engulfs the man. The man notes that the pain is disappearing. Puck explains that the elves have many powers, healing injuries, sensing feelings, and some say they can even bring happiness, although the man who told him that has since been beheaded. Puck finally gets around to asking our protagonist his name. The black swordsman is named Guts. How fitting. Puck also asks why he came to the town, but Guts declines to answer. Puck then notices a peculiar mark on the back of Guts' neck. He asks what it is. Guts suddenly sits up, sending Puck flying. He focuses on Puck for the first time and calls the mark the Brand. Puck, of course, starts asking all the obvious questions. What does it mean? Why does Guts have it? Who gave it to him? But Guts simply says he talks too much, an opinion shared by many fans. He says Puck will see soon enough, as the Brander is coming to kill him, and to burn the town to ashes. Puck asks if he meets the people from the castle. Guts just smiles. Puck, shocked, asks if he intends to sacrifice the lives of the town people for his own convenience. Guts says that their well-being is not his concern. He's only interested in killing the Baron. As for the others, que sera, sera. Those who get caught up in other people's battles, he says, are fools lacking the strength to live. Like I said, Guts is kind of a jerk. Puck is beginning to fold under the intensity of Guts' emotions. He identifies not only rage, but sadness and fear deep inside Guts' psyche. If that's true, he asks, why did Guts save him? Guts simply laughs at this and asks why anyone would bother to save someone like Puck. It's a damn good question. Puck, unamused, rams himself into Guts' jaw before flying off. His tiny feelings have been hurt. Guts yells at him to stop, but Puck flies away, leaving Guts to ponder his treatment of the elf. He begins to scratch at his own arm, leaving deep cuts. He is distracted from this endeavor by the sight that awaits him out the window. The village is burning. The brand on his neck begins to bleed. He touches the wound and licks the blood off his fingers. He says he's been waiting for this. Meanwhile, Puck is flying over the burning village. He spots a group of mounted soldiers approaching a group of wounded men. The soldiers ride right over the men, further mutilating their bodies. The soldiers pass by without a thought or a second glance. The torso of a child is hoisted on a poleaxe, his blood dripping down into a waiting mouth. The Baron, of course, is reveling in the slaughter. Puck, shaken by the sight, realizes that the Baron isn't a human. The Baron gives order for his soldiers to burn everything. The soldiers rush toward the pile of bodies until they are stopped short by a figure that climbs out of the pile. The figure is Guts, who has recovered his weapons and used them to create the said pile of bodies. He fires his crossbow with remarkable accuracy, hitting the exposed flesh of the oncoming soldiers. Most of the shots either hit the neck or the eyes. Guts takes a certain pleasure in mowing down the entire platoon with the crossbow. The soldiers that were smart enough to hang back attempt to charge him, but Guts pulls out his greatsword and with a one-handed swing beheads the horse and bisects the man riding it. The corpses fly backwards toward the rest of the soldiers. Guts stands still, holding the sword one-handed, while Puck starts to fangirl at him. The slaughterfest has drawn the attention of the Baron, whose presence makes his own soldiers withdraw. He faces Guts, Mexican standoff style, and asks if he is the black swordsman who has been hunting the apostles. Guts doesn't answer, instead dropping his sword and refilling his crossbow. The Baron says that as a human, Guts stands no chance of winning. He laughs at the very idea of it as he prepares to charge. Guts, unfazed, peppers the Baron with quarrels. The Baron takes quarrels to the chest, throat, and eyes, and eventually falls from his horse before reaching Guts. Puck celebrates in the soldiers' despair, but Guts merely moves to reload the crossbow, with good reason, as the Baron climbs back to his feet. Despite several mortal wounds to the face, the Baron faces Guts as if nothing has happened. Rather, he seems to be enjoying himself. Guts shoots the Baron again, this time propelling him backwards through a door. Guts again reloads, I guess he has a bag of holding for those quarrels, and follows the Baron through the door. The room he enters is pitch black, despite it being daytime outside. Guts and Puck, who has followed because self-appointed sidekick, scan the room but see nothing. Guts catches a glimpse of something in the dark, but it's too late to dodge the giant reptilian tail that propels him back out of the building. Guts is sent flying, the crossbow falling off his mechanical hand. He hits the ground hard. The Baron's eyes glow in the room as he tells Guts that for a human, trying to kill him is a futile exercise. Guts is shocked to see the Baron's true face, and his true body is a giant humanoid cobra. The Baron says he's going to eat Guts. His soldiers take his transformation with very little reaction, merely turning tail and running like little girls. Puck reacts with about as much restraint as you'd expect. He valiantly and calmly warns Guts of the Baron's approach, as the latter is struggling to catch his breath. The Baron catches Guts on his tail again, and sends him flying against a wall. The impact would have snapped the neck of a lesser man. Puck continues to contribute all he can to the fight, as Guts is repeatedly tail-whipped. This assault not only causes massive internal injuries, it also lowers Guts' defense stat. The Baron comments on Guts' hardiness, as the first blow would have crushed a normal human. He brings his tail down for one final strike. It impacts Guts across his back and seems to have killed him, if the trail of blood is anything to go by. Well, crap, the main protagonist is dead. Where do we go from here? Well, I suppose Puck will have to take up Guts' torch. Just kidding, this manga is disturbing, not intentionally painful. The Baron lifts Guts by his right hand and comments on the frailty of humans. All they're good for, he says, is food. Food for the Apostles' growth. Guts, who is in fact only mostly dead, takes this opportunity to place his mechanical hand in the Baron's mouth. This surprises the monster. Guts takes a string in his mouth and pulls. The hand falls open to reveal a miniature cannon. Guts blows half of the Baron's head clean off. The blast propels Guts back. While the Baron is reeling from the wound, Guts takes hold of the sword. With a mighty swing, Guts bisects the monster. Intestines fly as Guts collapses under the Baron's corpse. Puck is initially concerned, but the victorious swordsman rises from his prone position, triumphant. Both are startled, however, as the Baron's not quite a corpse starts shrieking in pain. Guts grabs his crossbow and steps on the Baron's head. He tells the monster not to die yet and shoots a clip of quarrels into his head. The Baron begs for mercy, but Guts reminds him that he had said it didn't matter how many quarrels the Baron was hit with. Guts would still lose. According to Guts, humans are weak and easily killable, but all humans, no matter how weak they are, no matter how much pain they feel, want to stay alive. He offers the Baron a chance to feel that pain. Guts fills the Baron's head with quarrels again and revels in the Apostle's pain. The Baron asks who Guts is and catches sight of the brand. He calls it the sacrificial brand. Guts asks him for the location of the 5 members of the God Hand. The Baron declines to answer, but a quarrel in his eye convinces him to state that he has no idea where they are, and that he couldn't find them if he wanted to. Guts seems to believe him and slowly walks away. He turns back to say that he's decided to let the Baron burn to death. A pile of burning logs falls on the Baron, who also catches fire. Guts continues to walk away, ignoring the monster's cries for help. Puck covers his ears to escape its screams. Guts, meanwhile, puts his equipment away and places the sword back on his back. Puck mutters the word Berserk under his breath, commenting on Guts' demeanor and dropping the series' title. He watches the Black Swordsman retreating back as the chapter ends. The end. The Berserk anime only encompasses the first major story arc, referred to as the Golden Age arc. As such, the events of the first arc, the Black Swordsman arc, are compressed. The first episode of the anime largely resembles the first chapter of the manga, but also takes concepts from the rest of the arc, mainly concerning Guts' brand and an item called a Belahit. Plot lines and characters that would have extended the story were removed, with the approval of the manga's creator Kentaro Miura. As such, Puck does not appear in the anime. Guts saves a girl named Colette in the first episode instead of the elf. Also, there is less graphic violence than in the manga. The first episode of Berserk should not be the sole judgment of the series, as the story that its creators are trying to tell starts for real in the second episode. The Golden Age arc is a look back at Guts' past, and is an explanation of why he fights monsters called apostles, and why he is such a jerk to everyone. Watching the anime without reading the manga first should not hinder your enjoyment of either. A word of caution, however. The Berserk anime does not have a happy conclusion. If you do watch it, bear in mind that the story doesn't end here. It has only just begun.